Dave, the number one thing fantasy managers want to know about the Eagles in 2023, maybe the best overall fantasy offense, is how are they going to deploy these running backs? Is it as simple as Rashad Penny on early downs and DeAndre Swift in the passing game, or is it going to be complex where Kenneth Gainwell, the only guy with coaching staff continuity, the only holdover who had a penchant for earning a lot of important snaps in 2022, is he going to maybe be the primary early down guy? Will he mix in on third down? It's a complex question. It's still early in the summer, but just how in the world do you see things shaking out in this Eagles backfield?
Yeah, it's really funny. It was the first question of the first press conference this summer. I snuck in there and asked Nick Sirianni how they're going to rotate these guys in the summer, and they've legitimately had 5 different running backs work with the first team offense. It's impossible to tell right now. I think some of those clues are right. Like DeAndre Swift is such a target out of the backfield that they're going to use that. It's worth noting the Eagles threw to their backs less than any team in the league last year.
So, I was going to have a follow-up. Will they throw more to their backs?
Yeah, I think they will, just by who they have. I mean, Miles Sanders, his rookie year, had kind of a flukish 50-catch season, which is weird to say, but he did. I mean, that wasn't his strength. Whereas like DeAndre Swift, he's better catching the ball out of the backfield than he is as a pure running back. So they're going to get him involved there. Kenny Gainwell has that attribute in his game a little bit. Even before the playoffs, where he vultured pretty much more than half of the snaps from Miles Sanders, he was getting 2-minute drill stuff. He was getting some big situations. They trust him a lot. They trust him in pass pro too, which is a really important element to all this. You're not getting on the field if you can't pass protect a little bit. So I think it comes down to those two. And Penny is like, I don't think anyone knows what to expect. He looks good out at training camp, but like that's not his issue. His issue is, can he stay on the field? And I think it's foolish to just think he's going to come to Philly and all of a sudden be a healthy back, but that's in the back of everyone's mind. Like if this guy stays healthy, the success and his production speaks for itself. And you put him behind this offensive line, and you think, okay, I mean, he has like Pro Bowl potential, but I just don't think you can rely on him. So the big question is like, who gets more touches by the end of the season? I'm a Swift guy. I think it's going to be Swift, but there's a Gainwell faction out there, and then there are even some Penny people too.
Or these warring clans.
I know.
Honestly, you can ask people around this team, like, who do you think? And you're going to get different answers. There's no consensus right now. I lean towards Swift because they traded for him. I think his ability catching the football, he had a great game against them in week 1 last year.
Always a huge factor with these guys.
Yeah, you ask anyone in the organization, it doesn't take long for them to get to that game and mention how good he was, which is a little...
it's kind of silly, but you understand why it sticks in your mind.
Yeah, you saw it. I mean, he was electric in that game. He looks good at training camp, so I'd have him in the lead, but I think it will be some sort of a rotation still.
So you say, though, Rashad Penny has at least been looking the parts. He was coming off another major injury. He looks healthy. He's doing what Rashad Penny is advertised as doing.
Yeah, it took a little while because like the early practices, it's tough for him because he's kind of an explosive back. Like running backs are a little tough before they're like, this camp is not that tough. They're not really hitting. They're in pads, but it's not real football. He's starting to look better and better, especially on like stretch plays where he gets to open up a little bit. That's where his strengths are. He's lighter this training camp. He's down to like 325, which he said he was up a lot higher than that before. So I think just losing the weight, he looks a little spry. He's hoping that'll help keep him healthy. We don't know if that'll work, but anything's worth a shot. You try because the potential's there with him.
Yeah, we talk about running, and I mean, Jalen Hurts, for my money, maybe, certainly one of the best fantasy rushing performances last year. When you look at his red zone stats, he was literally the most used quarterback in the red zone on a per game basis since the year 2000. It was like him and a Cam Newton year. And there's like a gap between anyone. And it makes sense. The dude is just big, physical, and the 1 yard push that I thought might have gotten banned in the offseason worked so effectively. until at the end of the year when he injures the shoulder. And it looked like that could have ultimately derailed the season. Luckily, they had put so much gap between themselves and anyone else. They were able to rest him. Do you think that worries them? We kind of got the same sentiment with Josh Allen, where the elbow thing was an issue. Do you think that worries them to the point where they actually change how he's used, which is hard because he was so good in the way that he's used?
Yeah, I don't expect a big change. And it's going to be a talking point as long as he's here, because and look, Philly's seen rushing quarterbacks before, and we've been down this road with Michael Vick and McNabb at a certain point in his career, Randall Cunningham. It goes back. There's a history here of running quarterbacks. Jalen's a little unique because of his build. You mentioned Josh Allen, like Cam Newton. They're bigger guys. They can withstand more than a Michael Vick or a Lamar Jackson. And like I think they're going to be cognizant of it. They're going to try to limit exposure to unnecessary hits, but it's not like he's going to all of a sudden become a pocket passer. He's getting much better in the pocket. He's a viable pocket passer now. He's pretty good there. But what makes him unique is that ability to run, and you have to do it a little bit or you kind of lose that threat. So I still think they're going to run some read option. At times they'll run some RPOs. He's going to have the ability on scramble drills to use his legs to extend plays, to get out and pick up first downs. You can't eliminate that stuff. I think they just want to try to eliminate the unnecessary times he takes a shot. So I will tell you, like, I think he does a decent job of protecting himself. Like, he'll understand when to slide, when to just take a step out of bounds. There were years here where we had Michael Vick, and the dude could not slide. Never learned how to slide. They tried. They brought in people from the Phillies organization to try to teach him how to slide. He just couldn't do it. At least Hurts has an understanding of like how to do it. He played baseball growing up. So, but it's Nick Sirianni said it best this year. We didn't pay him more to do less. They're going to use him like that. And it's going to be nerve wracking at times because they're going to see him take some hits, and that's just what they're going to have to live with.